Welcome to the ISP podcast. In this podcast, you will hear the emerging conflict scenario in the Myanmar-Thailand border. In late April and early May, Brigade 4 of the Karen National Liberation Army, along with Allied People's Defense Forces, seized the Ta Tactical Operation Command and the Tiki border checkpoint in Tanintharyi region from the State Administration Council SAC. The KNLA and PDFs, aligned with the National Unity Government NUG, say they have been conducting Operation Sidong River Basin since 2023. Operation Ongzea, launched by the SSC to retake the Asian Highway A81, has yet to make headway. Fierce fighting continues between SAC troops and subunits of the Karen National Union Brigade 6 in Kokorek and Kayan Seki townships. Against this backdrop, Thailand has been making repeated attempts to mediate the conflict and reopen the highway. Former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra stated, "I've conveyed to all major powers that Thailand wants to see Myanmar resolve its internal conflicts. Without dialogue, there can be no path toward negotiation." Since April 2025, coinciding with Mr. Thaksin's remarks, military operations have been intensified by the KNLA and its allied forces along the Thai-Myanmar border. After Thailand invited the State Administration Council SAC leader to attend the BIMSTEC summit, an effort to reintegrate Myanmar into the regional fold, and Mr. Thaksin brokered a meeting between the junta chief and the current RCON chair, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, a series of battles and border outpost seizures followed. Hosting nearly 100,000 refugees in Thai border camps and approximately 6 million migrant workers from Myanmar, Thailand bears the brunt of cross-border impacts stemming from Myanmar's armed conflict. Moreover, Washington's new tariffs risk hitting Thailand's economy, especially in the export sector, and Myanmar nationals working in Thailand's manufacturing industries may face significant impacts on their livelihoods. Thailand appears to have three primary interests in the Myanmar crisis: one, securing its border; two, addressing humanitarian concerns; and three, resolving armed conflict and achieving sustainable peace in Myanmar. While not explicitly rejecting UN or RCON frameworks, Thailand increasingly leans toward China's approach, focusing on resolving conflicts in Myanmar through trade and economic incentives, and integrating de-escalation of conflict through humanitarian efforts whenever feasible. Over time, other measures for de-escalation tacitly accept the SSC's planned elections as unavoidable, backs a gradual transfer of power to a civilian government, prioritize economic development, implement peacebuilding patiently, and seek to limit broader international involvement, particularly sanctions, except in support of humanitarian aid. As an initial step toward addressing the Myanmar crisis, Thailand wants to see the reopening of the Myawaddy-Kokorek section of the Asian Highway, a vital corridor for Thai-Myanmar border trade. With an average value based on fiscal year calculations, 2018 to 2019 to 2023 to 2024, excluding mini-budget of around USD 4.4 billion per year and USD 370 million per month. The route is currently controlled by multiple armed groups, including the Karen National Liberation Army and the Border Guard Force, forcing trade to divert through a detour riddled with checkpoints and informal taxes. The disruption has hurt Thai businesses and contributed to widespread shortages of consumer goods in Myanmar. For Thailand, reopening the highway serves as a test case for whether a step towards de-escalation through trade and economic incentives can be pursued, and Thailand can strike a balance for mutually beneficial relations with each of Myanmar's armed actors. While Thailand appears to be gravitating toward China's approach to the Myanmar crisis, at least 5 key contextual differences separate the two countries. First, China wields far greater influence over the Myanmar regime and actively exercises it, whereas Thailand lacks comparable leverage and has not made strategic use of what influence it holds. Second, China has a stronger grip on the ethnic armed organizations, EAOs, along its border. Since mid-2024, for example, it has imposed targeted sanctions through a 5-cut strategy on EAOs in northeastern Myanmar, prompting military and political shifts aligned with its interests. Thailand, by contrast, appears to lack similar authority. A third key difference lies in the organizational structure and political agendas of the EAOs along China's and Thailand's borders. EAOs near China are more centralized and tend to prioritize military victories, but they do so without urgently linking these gains to a political settlement. Many lack formal alliances with pro-democracy forces such as the National Unity Government NUG. By contrast, EAOs along the Thai border are weaker in centralization and coherency, with diverse political affiliations that make trade-driven or ceasefire-only approaches less effective. One notable distinction is the presence of the Border Guard Force on the Thai side. Aligned with the SSC, these units wield significant influence. Furthermore, the United Wa State Army maintains a significant presence of troops, especially close to Thailand's northern border. This substantial force exacerbates Thailand's geopolitical challenges due to the group's loyalty to China, in addition to the growing scale of drug trafficking and other illicit economies. While the SAC rejected the United Wa State Army offer to mediate in Lashio, it allowed the Border Guard Force under Saw Chittu to operate in Maiwadi, an arrangement that effectively subcontracted sovereign authority. Unlike China, which dismantled the Kokang Border Guard Force and shut down numerous scam operations, Thailand's role in anti-scam efforts has been largely confined to human trafficking rescues, underscoring its more limited capacity. A fourth key difference is that Thailand's political system, institutional capacity, and coordination mechanisms are less swift and decisive than China's, limiting its ability to match Beijing's effectiveness. Unlike China, Thailand's vibrant civil society and relatively independent media make it harder to maintain information control while engaging with the many stakeholders involved in Myanmar's conflict. A fifth difference lies in Thailand's more complex relationship with the international community, particularly Western countries and ASEAN, compared to China's standards. Beijing shows limited sensitivity to international scrutiny, as illustrated by its targeted sanctions on EAOs in northeastern Myanmar. While these structural differences may limit Thailand's influence compared to China, some of them also present potential strategic advantages, if leveraged wisely. Unlike China, whose approach to the Myanmar crisis struggles to win public and international support, Thailand's stronger international ties, particularly within ASEAN, and especially under Malaysia's chairmanship, with which Thailand has good relations, offer a unique opening. If Thailand can navigate the 5 points consensus to resolve Myanmar's conflict while delivering concrete outcomes, it can benefit significantly. With creative policymaking and effective coordination, Thailand could help chart a new path toward resolving the Myanmar crisis. The military operations launched by the KNLA and its allied forces appear to be a calculated effort to assert their strength. According to ISP, Myanmar's research, the KNU has conducted what it calls the 4-month operation since May. Beyond gaining control of part of the Asian highway, their presence at key border checkpoints like Thi Khi and efforts to seize military outposts in Tanantheri region suggest a broader aim to expand territorial control. In light of recent victories by EAOs in northeastern Myanmar and Rakhine the KNU seems to believe that without military victories and territorial control, especially along the border resistance groups, are unlikely to be seen by neighboring countries as strategically significant. Demonstrating such military muscle, the KNU hopes, may pressure Thailand to engage with resistance forces more seriously and perhaps inevitably. The joint operations by the KNLA and its allied forces raise pressing questions. Will these escalate into full-fledged town capture offensives, as seen in the northeast and Rakhine, or will securing key border outposts suffice to establish a military corridor in the southeast? It remains to be seen whether Thailand will begin treating these resistance forces as more than just non-state actors and engage with them more seriously. On the ground, these forces face practical constraints, limited access to arms and ammunition, stretched supply lines, and logistical difficulties that will be compounded by the approaching monsoon season. These factors cast doubt on their capacity to sustain operations beyond August or September. This will be critical in evaluating the momentum and impact of current outpost seizures. More importantly, as is often the case with EAOs in the southeast, The success of these campaigns will hinge on how they will leverage a military victory to pursue specific political objectives and strategically bring alliances on board. If Thailand hopes to succeed in de-escalating Myanmar's conflict, it may struggle by simply following China's lead, particularly if that path leads to endorsing the SAC's planned election. Unlike Beijing, Bangkok cannot ignore the political aspirations of the Myanmar people, nor can it impose a coercive solution. Thailand lacks the structural leverage and unilateral influence that allow China to act with such certainty. The model of the elephant steps create a path where sheer power determines outcomes does not translate well to Thailand's context. When underlying conditions diverge, the northern road is unlikely to extend southward. Instead, Thailand must develop a model of its own, one grounded in respect for the will of the Myanmar people, inclusive engagement, and alignment with international frameworks such as UN Security Council resolutions and ASEAN's 5-point consensus. By adapting to these guardrails and leveraging its diplomatic strengths into a coherent policy, Thailand has a better chance of helping to shape a resolution that is both legitimate and durable. As the Burmese proverb goes, the squirrel can tread on the branch, so can the bees build a hive on it. The same tree and branch can satisfy opposing sides by navigating a path through conflicting demands. What Thailand needs is a strategic model that is both practical and persuasive, one that is, in effect, a thread-the-needle act.
This podcast presented On Point number 25, titled Threading the Needle, a much-needed Thai model for Myanmar's political puzzle, published on the 4th of June, 2025. Thank you for listening, and if you like what you hear, check out our website for more, or find ISP Myanmar podcast on wherever you get your podcast.